Hey folks, welcome to the Do-It-Yourself-Dad channel. Today we are playing around with these. This is the Wyze Cam Outdoor. It's the new outdoor camera from Wyze. Now you notice this thing doesn't have wires hanging out of it, and that's because this is a wireless camera. It has a battery on board. It connects to a base station that connects inside your house, so you can put it anywhere outside your house without having to run power to it, which is a neat little feature. Now this thing was delivered by the FedEx man about 2 weeks ago, and immediately as soon as that thing showed up, I noticed videos popping up all over YouTube. Some people saying this thing was the greatest camera that's ever been made, other people saying it's the worst camera that's ever been made. I think the truth is somewhere in the middle. I'm not one of those YouTubers that immediately puts up a video. We tested this thing and I got an opinion on it, and stay tuned at the very end because I'm going to tell you what I think this thing is good for and what I don't think this thing is good for. But leave me a comment down below. Let me know what kind of uses you're looking for out of some sort of a camera, and maybe we can help each other out, getting you set up with something that actually works right for you. Now what we're going to do, I'm going to show you how this thing gets set up on your phone, and then we're going to put it all over the house in different environments so we can see how well it works. Let's jump in, get this thing set up. Now all the Wyze products run through the Wyze app, so you're going to want to download the app onto your phone or tablet, and you can get that through the App Store or the Google Play Store. Now going into some of the features before we get into the setup real quick, this one is a 1080 camera, so some of the other cameras are a little higher resolution, but for the price it's a pretty good value. It does also have a battery on board, so this one you don't have to plug in, and it has an up to 6-month battery. We're going to kind of see how well that works because I've heard differing things. You don't have to run any wires out to it. It is completely wireless. You can put it outside, and some of the downsides that people have been talking about is some of this stuff where it does 14-day cloud storage for 12-second videos, but it doesn't do storage for more, and there is a 1-minute cooling off period, which we'll talk about later on in the video, and you can actually expand the storage. We'll show you that in a second. But right now, let's do an unboxing, and I don't like unboxings, so we're gonna do something a little bit different. So here's what comes in the box. You got your power adapter, your base station, and then the camera. The camera is a little heavier than the other cameras, and it doesn't have that magnetic base, and that's probably just because of the weight. It's got a big battery in there. It has a USB cable, a internet cable, so you're gonna have to plug the base station into your router, and some mounting hardware, and of course a manual. Now looking at the base station here, it has the little SD card slot if you want to do any expansion, and then this guy, if you want to charge it, it's got this little port on the back. Get that open for you, and it charges over a USB, so you can charge this thing up. But like I said, it says a 6-month battery, but we're gonna play around with that and set it in an area where it's gonna get a lot of notifications. So right now, let's get this thing set up real quick on the phone. So like I had mentioned before, all this stuff is set up through your phone. The manual here, it literally tells you to download it and follow the instructions in the app. So we're gonna go in there and hit the little plus button, and we are gonna add a device and go through the process here. So we're gonna add the Wyze Cam Outdoor, and it says it looks like you need to set up a base station. So we're gonna add the base station. Connect your mobile device to your network. So we're gonna hook our phone into our Wi-Fi network because this needs to be on the same network as the base station for the setup. Plug the base station into your power and into your router. So we're gonna go and get those plugged in right now. All right, so you can see there it is booting up right there, and this is something also to check if you're considering one of these, is this does need to hook into your router or your modem, so make sure you actually do have an accessible port on your router or modem, otherwise you will be out of luck. All right, so the base station is turned on and is blue, so we're gonna check the box and move on to the next step. So now we select the name, we're just gonna call this one base station. So we're gonna flip on the switch behind the camera, which was behind that little access thing that we showed you before for charging. And the status light will light up. It says it'll light up yellow. You can see it right there. And we're supposed to keep the camera within 6 feet of the base station during setup. Now we're gonna press the sync button here on the bottom of the camera.
Pairing is in progress. Please wait.
So the setup complete, we are gonna name this one. We're just gonna call it Wyze Outdoor for now because we're going to be moving it around a bunch. And now we can go ahead and mount it. So the first place I want to play around with this camera is up front. Now I put it right here. The nice thing with it being wireless, we can move it around real easy, but it's going to give us a view of the street and the sidewalk. And the reason I'm doing this is because I want to show, or at least figure out how quickly this thing depletes the battery, and it should get a lot of motion going by with cars and people walking their dogs and whatnot. So we've got it up here. Let me show you what it's going to see. So that's the view it has. Let's get it set up. We'll let it run for a bit and we'll see how it performs up here. So now I'll give you a little tour through the app. I want to tell you about what I think is one of the biggest flaws with this camera, and that is it has a cooldown setting. And the cooldown, you get to choose between 5, 3, and 1 minutes, which means it takes a break and does nothing for 1, 3, or 5 minutes after it records that little 12-second clip. It doesn't loop record. All it records are those little clips when it senses motion. So if what you're interested happens after that 12-second clip, but within 1 minute or 3 minutes or 5, depending upon how you have it set up, you're out of luck. You're never gonna see it. So using this thing as a security camera, I think is an absolute no-go. It might have other great purposes, and we'll talk about that at the very end of the video, but as a purpose for a security camera, I really don't see it. I see that as a pretty major flaw. The other thing we're gonna get into in just a second is some of the detection settings and how those kind of operate and how those can screw things up for you. Now here's one of the issues that we did have with the new one. It doesn't have detection zones. It detects motion all over. So this is getting a false alarm from the tree branches up above, and normally we would set a detection zone and not get that with the V2. Now here's another one. You notice that cyclist was on the right side of the frame. We didn't catch him all the way across. There seems to be a delay between when these things sense motion and when it actually starts recording. And here's another good example. The car, you only see it mid-frame to left. You don't see it entering the frame on the right side. So there is a definite delay there, and that can be an issue if you're using these things to see motion outside. And I'm going to show you one more example here. Another car, mid-frame, you don't see it coming from the right side. So again, it's an issue if you're using this for a security camera or trying to catch a glimpse of anything moving by at any rate of speed. And here's another one. This truck enters, this is on my V2, and this is a notification deal. I got the notification on that within about 5 to 10 seconds of that truck entering the frame on my V2. Here it is again. You can see it only catches it about halfway through, but it took it almost a full minute for that notification to get all the way to my phone. Now, it wasn't all bad in the front yard. Here is an example of the Wyze Cam Outdoor using its night vision mode. This is illuminated with its IR LEDs compared to my V2, which does a pretty good job, but I do have to use a separate IR illuminator. So there's a clear win to the Wyze Cam Outdoor for low light outside. So now that we've let this thing chug away up here in the front yard for a couple of days, and I'll notice here, it's getting blasted by the sun, and that was always a question with the other ones, was how do these do with heat? It's 110 degrees today in my front yard. We are out in the California desert, and it's been blasted by the sun all day. Seems to be working pretty well, so it's doing its thing, but now we're gonna move this thing to another location, coming up right over here. And hide it right up there, and it's actually just above my other Wyze camera. So this will give us a good opportunity to see how well these things perform side by side, also how quicker the alerts come between the two, which one actually. And we tuck it up there, and it's just a couple feet away from my other Wyze camera. That's the older Wyze camera V2. So here we'll be able to see how they both handle some motion detection by the front door, because these are the cameras that point at my front door. We can also see which one gets alerts to my phone quicker. So we'll give that a shot, and let's check it out. Now here's another win for the Wyze Cam Outdoor. This is it by my front door, and you can see here the image does look really crisp and clear. The colors seem well, and it doesn't look grainy compared to this one, which is the V2. It looks a lot grainier. It's a little bit more washed out. So it's a clear win here for the outdoor for low light. So now that we've seen how it's done perched up here versus the other camera down here, we're going to take it down and put it in one last spot. And the spot that we're going to put it to is actually in my backyard. So we're going to head down my side yard to my koi pond. And we've had an ongoing problem with critters going after my koi, namely raccoons. So I want to see how we're doing. So we're going to put this thing right next to the koi pond here. And I want to see if we can see any raccoons coming in at night into the backyard. Now I have put some raccoon deterrent, so hopefully we don't see any, but we're also going to try something else. I wanted to put this in the backyard where there are no other lights. So it'll be relying completely on the little infrared lights up here. And we're also going to put one of the regular Wyze cams back here so we can compare the two of them. So for now, we're just going to put the camera right here on this little step, and yes, that is a train in my backyard. We're going to put this little thing pointed right at the pond, and we're going to have the motion detection set up on it, and we're also going to put this little guy. This is one of the V2s that we hydro dipped and turned into a robot. Leave me a comment down below if you want to see how we made one of these. Maybe I'll make a video on how we did the hydro dipping and made the little robot guy there. And this one actually doesn't have a battery, so we're going to power it with one of these battery packs. And let's run these in the backyard for a bit, compare them side by side, see how they do. Now the first thing I'm noticing even before these things are working is this one is connecting just fine, and actually my phone is connecting just fine out here, but this one is having a little bit of trouble connecting, and we're only probably about 30-40 feet from the base and only going through one wall. So we definitely have a little bit of a connection issue here with this one versus this one. And this one is connecting to my router, which is actually sitting right next to the base station for that one. So we just ran into that little hiccup, but it is working, so let's give this thing a whirl. Now we didn't see any raccoons, and that's a good thing, but here is the Wyze Cam Outdoor, and then we have a clip coming up in just a second of the Wyze Cam V2, and you'll see that they are pretty much identical, which means close up night vision, they're pretty much a wash. Now one of the other features about this camera is they say it's weatherproof, which doesn't really mean waterproof. It doesn't mean you can submerge it. The problem is we can't test that because we are in the California desert and it doesn't really rain much. So we're gonna do a little bit of artificial rainstorm here. That seems pretty good, but you might argue that sometimes the water comes in from the side. And you know, you never know, it might fall off and go right into your pool. So let's see if we can fish that sucker out now and see how well she's doing. Now it's time to play lifeguard and scoop this thing out. It sat on the bottom of the pool for about a good 2 minutes before we got the net and managed to get the thing out. So it did have some time to soak in there in about 4 feet of water. We pulled it out and you can see right here the blue light is still on, which means the thing is actually still working. So now we just have to check and see if we actually have an image. And there you go, we do. Thumbs up. So it survived the dunk in the pool. So I know I've said a lot of bad things about this camera in this video, and I've also said some good things about this camera in this video, and it's not a bad camera, and certainly for the price, it's pretty neat what it can do. I don't know of any other cameras out there at this price. $50 is what this thing's going for with the base. I don't know any other cameras out there at this price that is a truly wireless camera with a battery that you just charge up, that you don't have to plug in. So it definitely solves a problem there for this price point. And they have done some pretty great things with this camera for what they're charging for it. So I do think it's a good buy for the money. Now, would I use it as a security camera? No, I would not use this thing as a security camera because of those flaws. Really the biggest one is that cooldown period we talked about. If a package gets delivered and you have it set for a 5-minute cooldown and then it gets stolen, you're going to have a video of it getting delivered and not a video of it getting stolen. With that also, you know, if somebody walks onto your property, because this thing does not loop record, it only records those little 12-second chunks of time. It doesn't record non-stop. You're going to miss a lot of the action, and if you're using it as a security camera, it kind of defeats the purpose. Now, if you're using this because you want to monitor, say, when someone gets home from work, or if your kid's getting home from school and you just need to see when somebody goes in through the door, or you want to see when a package gets delivered, this thing does fit the bill for that. So it does have a purpose. I just wouldn't consider this a good solution as a security camera. So if this video helped you out at all, and I do like to put out honest videos, and I know that sometimes is hard to find on YouTube, please hit that subscribe button because we have more videos like this coming your way. And I'm also going to have a different system coming up soon that might be a little bit more along the lines of a wireless outdoor security camera system that you can check out. So be sure to hit that subscribe button, leave me a comment down below, let me know your thoughts on this system or what you're using at home, and of course, thanks for watching.